Hey everyone, if you've ever felt torn between love and right and wrong, hit that like button and subscribe because this confession is going to break your heart. I still remember the exact moment my world shattered and rebuilt itself in the worst way possible. It was late at night. The house was quiet except for the soft creak of my bedroom door, and there he was, my own son, standing in the dim light with tears in his eyes, whispering, "Mom, I can't do this anymore," while his hand trembled as it brushed against mine, sending a forbidden spark through my body that I will never forget. After the divorce, everything just collapsed. I was 42, suddenly alone with a boy who needed me more than air, working two exhausting jobs that left me hollow by the time I dragged myself through the door each night. The apartment felt smaller every year, bills piling up like silent accusations, fridge too often empty, heat turned low to save pennies. I told myself I was doing it all for him, that my sacrifices made me strong, but the truth whispered louder in the dark. I was starving. Starving for a gentle hand on my shoulder, for someone to look at me and see a woman instead of just mom. The loneliness sat right here, heavy in my chest, pressing until breathing hurt. We were crammed together in that tiny space. No escape, no room to pretend the years hadn't changed things. Shoes kicked off, and there he'd be at the kitchen table, shirt unbuttoned at the collar after a long day of his own struggles, shoulders broader now, carrying weight no boy his age should carry. We shared the same sagging couch for those quiet movie nights, knees almost touching under the blanket, the warmth of his legs seeping through the thin fabric into mine. Mornings in our cramped bathroom, steam still clinging to the mirror, it'd catch the outline of him fresh from the shower, towel low on his hips, and my heart would stutter before I forced my eyes away. His hand brushing mine when we passed the salt at dinner, it lingered a second longer than it used to. Goodnight hugs that used to be quick and safe now stretched, his arms wrapping around me like he was afraid I might disappear, his breath warm against my hair, carrying that faint boyish scent mixed with something deeper, something that made my pulse flutter in ways I refused to name. I told myself it was nothing, just closeness born from necessity. We only had each other after all. But the ache inside me kept growing, quiet and treacherous. Every shared glance across the tiny living room felt heavier. Every time he helped with chores, sleeves rolled up, those once small hands now strong and sure, I felt a pull like Alden explain. I was supposed to protect him, guide him, be his safe place, not notice how his voice had deepened, how his presence filled the empty spaces left by his father. The guilt already flickered at the edges of my thoughts. Soft and insistent, "This is wrong, Hes, your son. You gave up everything for him." Yet when he looked at me with those grateful eyes after a long day, whispering, "You're all I have, Mom," something inside me melted and burned at the same time. The line between sacrifice and surrender felt thinner every night, the air between us charged with words we never said. I'd lie awake listening to the faint sound of his breathing through the thin wall, my own breath catching, wondering how much longer I could pretend this was still innocent. And then one evening, after another endless shift, he did something so simple it cracked me open. He ran the bath for me, left my favorite lave and oil on the edge of the tub, the towel folded neatly with his scent still clinging faintly to it. I sank into the warm water, eyes closed, that calming lavender wrapping around me mixed with him. My heart did something dangerous. I told myself he was just being thoughtful, just my good boy looking after his tired mom. But when I stepped out and he pulled me into a hug, his arms strong and steady around my still damp body, the warmth of him pressed close, it felt like coming home and falling at the same time. That night sleep would come. I lay there in the dark, the guilt already whispering louder, "This is wrong, Hes, your son," while my skin still remembered the heat of his embrace, and the ache inside me answered back with a hunger I was terrified to name. The days blurred after that bath, but the flutter in my chest refused to settle. It started so innocently. One evening after another rough shift, he ran me a warm bath again and left my favorite lavender scent oil by the tub. The calming lavender wrapped around me, mixed with the faint trace of his cologne that clung to the towel he'd left folded nearby. My heart did something it absolutely shouldn't. Hes just being thoughtful? I kept repeating in my head, but when I stepped out and hugged him afterward, his strong arms pulled me close, warmer and safer than anything had felt in years. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, guilt already whispering low and steady, "This is wrong, Hes, your son." The obsession crept in so quietly I almost didn't notice at first. I began noticing everything about him. The way his voice had deepened into something steady and low, the gentle texture of his calloused hands from all the chores he took on without complaint. The old playlist we used to dance to when he was little now playing softly while we cooked dinner side by side. One night during a quiet movie, he fell asleep on my shoulder, his breath warm and even against my neck, carrying that same faint cologne that made my pulse skip. I froze completely, heart racing in my throat, thinking I shouldn't feel this heat spreading through me, but God, I've never felt so needed, so completely seen. I wrestled with it every single moment after that. In the mirror I'd catch my own reflection and whisper under my breath, "You're his mother, you sacrificed everything for him, this is sick and twisted." Yet every time he looked at me with those grateful eyes, telling me softly that I was the only one who ever truly loved him, the voice of morality grew quieter, almost drowned out. The lavender scent from that bath night became my undoing. I'd catch it lingering on his clothes when he brushed past me in the narrow hallway and feel a rush of warmth flood through me. Tangled tight with shame. "I'm doing this for us," I tried to rationalize in the dark hours. "He needs needs. And maybe, just maybe, I need him too in a way that terrifies me." The air in our small apartment felt thicker with every passing day, charged like the moments before a storm breaks. I'd find myself lingering in the kitchen longer than necessary, just to watch him reach for something on the high shelf, his shirt riding up slightly to reveal a sliver of skin that made my breath catch. We'd sit close on the couch sharing one blanket, our knees almost touching, the heat from his legs seeping through the thin fabric into mine like a secret I couldn't push away. His hand would brush mine when passing the remote, lingering a heartbeat longer, sending tiny sparks racing up my arm. I told myself it was nothing, just the closeness forced by our tight living space, just a son caring for his tired mother who had given up so much. But the ache kept growing, quiet and insistent, filling the empty spaces his father left behind years ago. Every goodnight hug stretched now, his arms wrapping around me with a strength that made me feel protected and fragile all at once, his breath warm against my hair. Heart pounding, forcing a smile while inside everything screamed danger. The guilt sat heavy on my chest at night, pressing until breathing hurt, reminding me over and over of every sacrifice I made so he could have a chance at life. The line between motherly love and this forbidden pull blurring more with each breath we shared. I tried to fight it harder, throwing myself into extra shifts, avoiding those quiet evenings together, but he was always there, thoughtful and steady, leaving small gestures that chipped away at my resolve. A cup of tea waiting when I came home, his favorite song from our old playlist playing low in the background, his eyes meeting mine across the table with a softness that made my knees weak. The lavender scent triggered it every time now, a wave of warmth and shame crashing over me whenever I caught it on him. "I'm his mother," I repeated like a prayer, but the hunger in my chest answered louder each night, whispering that maybe we both needed more than we dared admit. And then last night, after he helped with the dishes and our fingers touched under the running water, he looked at me for a long moment, something unspoken hanging heavy in the air between us. His lips parted like he wanted to say words that could change everything forever. The storm hit hard that night, rain slamming against the windows like it wanted to break everything open. He came home from the exam, face pale and shoulders slumped, the kind of defeat that made my heart twist in ways only a mother knows. I pulled him onto the couch without thinking, arms wrapping around him as he finally let the tears fall, his body shaking against mine. The old playlist hummed faintly from his phone, that song we used to play on long drives when it was just us against the world. His head rested heavy on my shoulder, breath uneven and warm through my thin blouse, and for a moment the world narrowed to just the two of us, the thunder outside matching the one building inside my chest. His hands found my back, not pulling away like they should have, but pressing closer, fingers tracing slow circles that sent heat blooming under my skin. I told myself it was comfort, nothing more, yet my own fingers slipped into his hair, holding him there as if letting go would shatter us both. The air grew thick, charged with something I had no name for, his heartbeat pounding against mine until I forgot how to breathe properly. 2. And then the boundary that had always held us simply dissolved, like sugar and rain. We crossed it in that trembling instant, his lips brushing mine in a way that felt both inevitable and impossible, the weight of every sacrifice I had ever made crashing down around me. This is everything I gave up for him, I thought, and now I am giving up the last piece of my soul. In the weeks that followed, our small world became a haze of stolen glances and quiet afternoons that stretched to long. He would find me in the kitchen, arms sliding around my waist from behind, while the kettle whistled softly, his chest solid against my back, that familiar warmth seeping through fabric like a promise I couldn't refuse. The lavender from those earlier nights now mingled with something deeper, something shared and secret that made my pulse race every time he leaned in close. He whispered words against my ear, telling me I was his everything, that no one had ever made him feel this safe, this wanted, and for those brief moments the years of empty loneliness melted away. I felt seen, alive in a way I hadn't since before he was born, the ache of solitude replaced by a pull so strong it left me breathless and trembling. Yet the guilt never stayed away for long. Nights after, I would lie there listening to his even breathing, the same soft rhythm I had memorized when he was tiny and needed me for everything, and the tears would slip silently down my cheeks. What kind of mother does this make me? I wondered, staring at the ceiling while shame wrapped tight around my throat. I had given him my youth, my marriage, my body in ways no one should ask, and now this. This forbidden closeness that made me question every choice I had ever made. The internal storm raged, one voice screaming to stop while another soothed that this was just another way to keep him whole, to fill the gaps his absent father left behind. The next morning I would see him smile at me across the breakfast table, eyes bright with a security only I could give, and the shame would sink lower, buried under layers of rationalization. I sacrificed so much already, I told myself, pushing down the nausea of wrongness. This is simply one more thing to ensure he feels loved, complete. The war inside me never quieted, pulling me between horror and hunger with every shared glance, every lingering touch that promised more than words ever could. Still, in those hidden pockets of time, when his hand found mine and held on a second too long, the pull felt stronger than any guilt, gravity drawing us closer despite everything screaming we should run. But even as the days blurred into this fragile new rhythm, something darker began to stir beneath the surface, a whisper of doubt that refused to be silenced. The crisis shattered everything when my sister showed up unannounced one rainy afternoon, her keys jingling in the lock just as his hand lingered too long on the small of my back in the hallway. We froze, hearts hammering in perfect sync, the scent of lavender from the laundry still clinging to our clothes like a guilty confession. She called out my name, footsteps echoing closer, and in that split-second terror flooded his eyes, wide, pleading, the same look he had as a little boy when thunder scared him into my arms. We barely pulled apart before she rounded the corner, her smile faltering at the heavy air between us. I mumbled something about folding towels, my voice cracking like thin ice, while he slipped into his room with a muttered excuse about homework. But later, behind the closed kitchen door, the whispers came sharp and desperate. "Mom, what if she saw? What if everyone finds out?" His breath was warm against my ear, trembling with the same fear that clawed at my chest. I pressed a finger to his lips, choosing him, feeling the soft give of his skin. So familiar, yet now laced with danger. We argued in hushed tones, words tumbling over each other like stones in a river. How could I have let it go this far? Every sacrifice I made. The late nights working double shifts, the dreams I buried so he could chase his, now threatened to bury us both. The reality slammed into me then, cold and unforgiving. This secret wasn't just ours anymore, it was a storm cloud ready to break over the life I'd built brick by aching brick. His future, my reputation, the fragile normalcy we pretended at family dinners. All of it hung by a thread because of this pull that refused to loosen. I saw the pain-etching lines on his young face, the guilt mirroring my own, and something inside me cracked wide open. After she left, the house felt smaller, heavier. That night, we sat on opposite ends of the couch, the old playlist humming low in the background, a song from his childhood that once meant bedtime stories and safe hugs, but now every note twisted like a knife. I made the hardest choice of my life then, my hands clasped tight in my lap to keep from reaching for him. "We have to stop," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. "I sacrificed everything for you, my son, my youth, my chances at something normal, every quiet dream I pushed aside so you could have more." And I'll keep sacrificing by doing what's right, even if it carves me hollow forever. He didn't argue at first, just stared at me with eyes that held oceans of unspoken ache. When he finally nodded, a single tear tracing down his cheek, it felt like the ground giving way beneath us. We ended the physical side right there. No more lingering touches that blurred every line. No more modes where breath mingled too closely and the world narrowed to just us. But the emotional bond, oh, it remained deeper and more tangled than before, a quiet gravity that kept us orbiting each other in silent, changed orbits. Days turned into weeks of careful distance. I'd catch him watching me across the dinner table, that old hunger softened into something sadder, more resigned. I'd smile back, forcing lightness into my voice while my heart screamed in protest. The lavender scent still lingered in the laundry, a cruel reminder of nights that would never repeat. At times the internal war reignited. One part of me craving the safety of his arms, the other clinging desperately to the mother I swore to be. Yet I held firm, even as the ache settled into my bones like winter frost that never quite thaws. Looking back now, I still don't know if crossing that line destroyed us or if stopping saved what little remained. Did my love twist into something that wounded him deeper than any absence ever could? Or was it the only way to truly protect the boy I gave everything to? The what-ifs haunt me in the quiet hours. What if I'd never let the boundary dissolve? What if I'd held stronger from the start? If you were in my place, sacrificing every piece of yourself for your child only to watch love blur into forbidden territory? What would you have done? Would you have kept going? Would you have kept going? Or drawn the line even when it felt like tearing your soul in two? Drop your thoughts below, like if this touched the deepest part of your heart. Subscribe for more raw confessions like this. And tell me, does a mother's love truly have any limits, or does it keep pulling us under no matter how hard we fight to surface? The ache remains quiet and endless, a song I can't stop hearing in the dark,